During the party, the millionaire's daughter is locked in the car by his new wife. While everyone celebrates, the girl is forgotten in the heat. It is the maid who realizes the danger, and what she does surprises everyone. But what comes next exposes a truth that no one in that mansion wanted to face. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us what city you're watching us from. We'll keep going. The sound of shattering glass echoed through the stifling garage. Sarah Wilson, her hands bleeding, broke the window of a black SUV to rescue 5-year-old Lily Bennett, who was barely conscious inside. The little girl's face was flushed, her lips cracked, her small body limp after hours trapped in the heat. Outside, the 6-month wedding anniversary celebration continued with music, champagne toasts, and endless selfies. No one had noticed the child's absence except Sarah, who now burst into the party with Lily in her arms, desperately calling for help. Robert Bennett, a successful construction magnate in Palm Beach, Florida, dropped his champagne flute in panic. His wife of 6 months, Ashley Morgan, a flawlessly dressed social media influencer with millions of followers, quickly composed herself, claiming she had left the air conditioning running and it must have turned off by itself. Some guests comforted her, treating the incident as a trivial oversight, while others whispered behind raised hands. "Someone call an ambulance!" Sarah shouted, her voice breaking as she cradled Lily's limp body. The little girl's favorite yellow dress was soaked with sweat, her blonde curls matted against her forehead. "I checked on her just 20 minutes ago," Ashley insisted, her voice steady despite the chaos. "She was sleeping peacefully with the air on. I don't understand what happened." Sarah's eyes met Ashley's, and in that moment a silent understanding passed between them. This was no accident. This was just the latest in a pattern that had been escalating for months. The paramedics arrived within minutes, whisking Lily away on a stretcher while Robert followed, ashen-faced and stumbling. Ashley remained behind, assuring guests that everything would be fine while discreetly asking the catering staff to continue serving. Sarah climbed into the ambulance beside Lily, holding the child's small hand as the paramedics worked. In the sterile confines of the emergency vehicle, memories washed over her like waves. 5 years earlier, Robert had hired Sarah shortly after becoming a widower. His wife, Catherine, had experienced complications during childbirth that left Robert alone with a newborn daughter. Unable to have children of her own, Sarah had poured her heart into raising baby Lily, sleepless nights, lullabies, first steps. Lily called her Aunt Sarah, with such natural affection that sometimes visitors assumed they were related by blood. While Robert buried himself in long work days, expanding his construction empire along Florida's Gold Coast, Sarah filled all the emotional, practical, and nurturing spaces of motherhood. She was the one who knew that Lily preferred her sandwiches cut into triangles, not squares. She was the one who could identify which cry meant pain and which meant frustration. She was the one who kept a journal of Lily's first words, first steps, and first day of preschool, memories that Robert would ask about, but never witnessed firsthand. The dynamics shifted dramatically when Robert met Ashley at a charity gala 18 months ago. With her perfect smile, designer wardrobe, and 500,000 Instagram followers, Ashley represented everything glamorous about Palm Beach society. Her feed was a carefully curated showcase of yacht parties, spa retreats, and partnerships with luxury brands. Robert was enchanted, and within 6 months, he proposed with a diamond ring that made headlines on local society pages. In public, Ashley smiled at her stepdaughter, posting carefully staged photos of family time that garnered thousands of likes. Behind closed doors, however, she showed impatience and disdain, disguised pinches, hair-pulling, threatening whispers, and ultimately, suggestions that Lily would benefit from a boarding school far away. Lily, once chatty and confident, began to regress, bedwetting, avoiding eye contact, walking on tiptoes around the house, and flinching at sudden movements. Sarah had repeatedly alerted Robert, who dismissed her concerns, blinded by passion and Ashley's masterful manipulations. "Sarah is jealous," Ashley had whispered to him late at night. "She's been the woman of the house for so long, she can't accept that there's someone new in Lily's life, someone who could be her real mother." On the day of the anniversary party, Ashley had told Sarah that Lily was napping in the car with the air conditioning on while the adults celebrated. Hours later, When Sarah couldn't find Lily anywhere in the house, she had rushed to the garage to find the vehicle sealed shut, the engine off, and Lily unconscious in the back seat. At Palm Beach Memorial Hospital, doctors confirmed severe dehydration. Sarah insisted it wasn't an accident, describing the pattern of behavior she'd observed. But when she returned to the Bennett estate the following morning, security guards met her at the gate. "Mr. Bennett has terminated your employment," the head of security said, avoiding eye contact. "You've been accused of making false allegations. Your belongings have been packed." "I need to say goodbye to Lily," Sarah pleaded. "I'm sorry, Ms. Wilson. We have strict instructions." Sarah left with tears streaming down her face and the conviction that Lily remained in danger. After 5 years of being the child's primary caregiver, the one who bandaged scraped knees, explained thunderstorms, and chased away nightmares, she was suddenly cut off completely. The following weeks were a downward spiral: a cheap apartment in West Palm Beach, work as a cleaner in office buildings, cracked hands from harsh chemicals, long walks because she could no longer afford a car. Meanwhile, her worry for Lily grew into an obsession. She monitored Ashley's social media posts, noting the conspicuous absence of Lily in recent updates, despite an increasing frequency of selfies, product endorsements, and party appearances. Through careful research, Sarah discovered inconsistencies in Ashley's background: name changes, discrepancies in her claimed education, and concerning reports from former roommates about manipulative behavior. She tried to alert Robert. Her calls were blocked. She went to his office building. Security escorted her out. That's when Sarah approached Eleanor Peterson, an elderly neighbor who lived across from the Bennett estate. Lonely and perceptive, Eleanor had noticed things: a child's cries when Robert's car was absent, harsh words through open windows, the sound of something being thrown. "That woman isn't right," Eleanor confided to Sarah over tea in her modest living room. "The way she speaks to that child when no one's watching, it makes my skin crawl." Together, they devised a plan. Sarah would watch the house during Ashley's predictable routines, while Eleanor, whose age rendered her seemingly harmless, would record any concerning interactions from her property line. After several unsuccessful attempts due to ambient noise, they captured their first audio evidence: Ashley berating Lily for spilling juice on a designer cushion, using language no 5-year-old should ever hear. But it wasn't enough. They needed more concrete proof. The opportunity arose when Robert traveled to New York for a 3-day business trip. Eleanor's security camera captured Ashley yanking Lily's favorite teddy bear from her arms, throwing it into the pool, and dragging the crying child inside by her arm. Still insufficient for the authorities to intervene. Days later, the definitive evidence emerged. Ashley pushed Lily near the edge of the pool, held her head underwater for several terrifying seconds, and explicitly threatened worse if the child told her father. That night, Eleanor faked a medical emergency, was invited inside, and was also verbally assaulted when she questioned Ashley's treatment of Lily. From outside, Sarah recorded the entire confrontation through an open window. When Ashley discovered they were gathering evidence, she panicked. Under cover of darkness, she broke into Eleanor's house to delete the videos, rummaging through drawers, breaking a picture frame, and finding the elderly woman's phone. Before she could delete the files, she was caught on the street's security cameras, documenting her forced entry and attempted destruction of evidence. The recording was automatically sent to Sarah's email, with the accumulated evidence: videos of child abuse, attempted drowning, elder harassment, and now home invasion. Sarah and Eleanor contacted the police. Squad cars arrived at the Bennett estate, viewed the footage, entered the mansion, and emerged with Lily in an officer's arms. Ashley was handcuffed while still trying to maintain her composure, demanding, "Do you know who you're dealing with?" The news quickly went viral. Influencer arrested for mistreating stepdaughter. Robert, informed at the airport as he returned from his business trip, rushed home. When he saw the bruises on his daughter's arms and heard her whisper that fear had prevented her from telling him, he felt his world collapse. Learning that Sarah had protected Lily even after being fired, he sought her out. Their reunion took place in the hallway of a commercial building where she pushed a cleaning cart. Thinner and grayer, she barely resembled the confident woman who had once run his household. "Sarah," he said, his voice breaking, "I'm so sorry. I was blind." She looked at him with tired eyes. "It wasn't about you, Robert. It was about Lily. It's always been about Lily." "I need your help," he admitted. "She's asking for you." Sarah set down her cleaning supplies. "I'll come back, but on my terms. Fair pay, proper time off, and a voice in decisions about Lily's life. I'm not just the help anymore," Robert nodded, understanding that the power dynamic had fundamentally shifted. Meanwhile, a new player entered the scene. Thomas Bennett, Robert's ambitious attorney brother, who had been notably absent from family gatherings for years. Following the scandal, he resurfaced, claiming that to protect the family reputation, Lily's custody should be transferred to him. He proposed exclusive guardianship, masking his intentions for control and social visibility. Sarah immediately recognized the maneuver and initiated a counter-petition with Eleanor's support and the assistance of a sympathetic public defender moved by their case. At the hospital, Lily ran into Sarah's arms. "Don't leave me again," she begged. "I promise," Sarah whispered, kissing the top of her head. The child now feared water, had regressed in habits, and avoided bathing. The psychologist advised patience and emotional security. Robert adjusted his schedule, working from home 3 days a week. The house transformed. Less luxury, more attentiveness. During the legal proceedings, new details emerged. Sarah revealed that Ashley had forced Lily to call her mom in public while threatening her at home. The motivation? Narcissistic insecurity. The influencer wanted the child's adoration, not out of love but vanity. When she didn't receive it, she punished. Moreover, medical records revealed that Ashley had been trying to conceive, unsuccessfully. Discovering the issue was hers had plunged her into resentment and obsession. Sarah's maternal bond with Lily was a silent affront she couldn't tolerate. In court, Ashley's defense attempted to claim emotional instability and post-wedding adjustment issues. She cried, saying she felt ignored by her husband and abandoned in a new maternal role. The climax came when Robert testified against her, despite pressure from lawyers who suggested that claiming ignorance would absolve him of responsibility. He chose truth. "I failed. My negligence allowed this to happen." Lily, interviewed by a child psychologist in a play therapy environment, repeated phrases from Ashley that matched the recorded audio. The judge, visibly moved, suspended the session. Thomas Bennett was disqualified as a potential guardian when evidence emerged of his attempt to bribe witnesses, also captured on video by Sarah's careful surveillance. The verdict came. Ashley was convicted of child abuse, home invasion, and assault. She lost her conjugal rights, was forced to return substantial assets, and began her sentence far from filters and followers. Months later, Lily gave her first spontaneous laugh in the garden. Robert formalized shared custody with Sarah. Now also her paper mom, Eleanor became known as Sunday Grandma. Life didn't transform into a fairy tale. Nightmares persisted, guilt lingered, but there were simple dinners, memory journals, and gates always open to the garden. The story ended with Sarah closing Lily's diary and saying, "It doesn't matter how it began. What matters is that no one will ever let you go again." 8 months after the dramatic rescue from the sweltering car, Sarah stood in the doorway of Lily's bedroom, watching the little girl arrange stuffed animals on her freshly made bed. The Palm Beach morning light streamed through gauzy curtains, casting a golden glow over the scene. This room, once meticulously staged for Ashley's perfect family social media posts, now reflected the actual child who lived there. Art projects hung at eye level, books spilled from overstuffed shelves, and a growth chart marked with colorful lines tracked progress on the doorframe. "Aunt Sarah?" Lily looked up, her blonde curls bouncing. "Is it time for pancakes?" "Almost, sweetheart. Your dad is mixing the batter." Sarah smiled, noting how Lily no longer flinched at sudden movements. Small victories. Downstairs, Robert poured blueberries into the pancake mix, his sleeves rolled up, his tie abandoned. The corporate titan of South Florida construction now reserved Sunday mornings exclusively for family breakfast. No calls. No emails, no exceptions. "She's arranging her army again," Sarah reported, reaching for coffee. Robert smiled. The stuffed animal's strategic defense. Eleanor taught her that. Their easy rhythm had taken months to develop. After the trial, after Ashley's sentencing, after the media frenzy subsided, They had faced the real challenge, rebuilding Lily's sense of safety and reconstructing their unusual family unit. The court-mandated therapy sessions had revealed the extent of Ashley's manipulation. Beyond the physical abuse captured on video, there had been psychological warfare, convincing Lily that Sarah didn't really love her, that her father was only pretending to care because of obligation, that she was fundamentally unlovable. "She told me if I was good enough, my real mom wouldn't have left," Lily had whispered during a therapy session, breaking both Sarah's and Robert's hearts with 5 simple words. Dr. Madison, their family therapist, had helped them understand that recovery wouldn't be linear. "There will be setbacks," she warned. "Days when Lily tests boundaries to see if your love is conditional. She learned that love can be withdrawn as punishment. You'll need to prove otherwise consistently." Robert gazed out the kitchen window toward the pool, now secured with a child-proof fence and alarm system. "I keep thinking about what could have happened," he said quietly. Sarah touched his arm. "But it didn't. We're here now." The doorbell chimed and Eleanor's voice called through the open window. "I've brought the Sunday paper and those ridiculous donuts you all pretend not to want." Lily thundered down the stairs. "Grandma Ellie!" Eleanor Peterson entered with a box of donuts balanced on her newspaper. At 75, she had found an unexpected second act as an honorary grandmother, complete with babysitting duties, excessive holiday gifts, and the right to spoil dinner with afternoon treats. "There's my sunshine," she cooed, setting down her offerings to embrace Lily. "Ready for our garden project today?" Eleanor had taken over a corner of the Bennett Estate's extensive grounds, teaching Lily about native Florida plants and butterfly attraction. It was therapeutic for both of them, Eleanor finding purpose after years of widowhood, and Lily learning that not all adults had hidden agendas. As they gathered around the kitchen island, passing plates and syrup, they resembled any typical American family enjoying Sunday breakfast. No one would guess the legal battles they'd fought, the trauma they'd endured, or the unusual custody arrangement they'd pioneered. Robert's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned, then silenced it. "Thomas again?" Sarah asked quietly, while Lily was distracted by Eleanor's story about a garden toad. Robert nodded. His brother hadn't given up entirely, though his custody claim had been thoroughly rejected. Now he sent occasional messages suggesting family reconciliation that always seemed to coincide with his political ambitions. The latest rumor was that Thomas was considering a run for state senate, and a heartwarming family reunion story would play well with voters. "He wants to come by next weekend," Robert muttered. "Says he has gifts for Lily." Sarah's protective instinct flared. "After what he tried to do? After he claimed you were an unfit father? After he tried to bribe the neighbor's housekeeper to lie about seeing me mistreat Lily?" "I know," Robert sighed. "But he's still her uncle." "Biology isn't everything," Sarah countered, thinking of her own deep bond with Lily despite no genetic connection. Eleanor leaned across the table. "If I may offer my opinion," she said, lowering her voice so Lily couldn't hear, "some family members are better loved from a distance." Robert nodded thoughtfully. Eleanor's wisdom had proven invaluable over the past months. Without her surveillance footage and testimony, Ashley might still be in their lives, and Lily might still be suffering in silence. "I'll tell him we're not ready," he decided. "Lily's well-being comes first." Lily looked up from her pancakes, syrup dripping down her chin. "Are we going to the beach today?" "You promised." Sarah and Robert exchanged glances. Water still triggered anxiety for Lily, but her therapist had suggested gradual exposure in safe settings. They had been taking small steps, first a kiddie pool in the backyard, then the shallow end of their home pool with Sarah right beside her, and now, potentially, the ocean. "If you want to, sweetheart," Sarah said carefully. "We can just sit on the sand and build castles if that's what you prefer." Lily considered this, her small face serious. "I want to try putting my toes in." "Just toes," Robert beamed with pride. "That's my brave girl." After breakfast, they packed beach bags while Eleanor prepared to tend her garden patch. The doorbell rang again and Robert frowned. "I'm not expecting anyone." Sarah went to answer, Lily trailing behind her. On the doorstep stood a woman in a crisp suit, holding a leather portfolio. "Ms. Wilson? I'm Jessica Harmon with the Palm Beach Post. I was hoping for a few minutes of your time." Sarah instinctively moved to block Lily from view. No interviews. We've been very clear about that. The reporter persisted. But the public is fascinated by your story. A nanny who saved a child from abuse, fought the system and now shares custody with the father. It's unprecedented. Your story could help other children in similar situations. Our story is private, Sarah insisted. And Lily isn't a lesson for public consumption. But, Robert appeared behind them. Ms. Harmon, was it? Our lawyer will be contacting your editor. This is the 4th time your paper has sent someone to our home, despite our cease and desist letters. Now please leave before I call the police. The reporter retreated, but not before slipping a business card into the potted plant by the door. If you change your mind, families need to hear this. Inside, Robert ran a hand through his hair in frustration. They never stop. First the tabloids with Ashley's mugshot, then the local news, now this human interest angle. Sarah knelt to check on Lily, who seemed unfazed by the encounter. Are you okay, sweetie? Lily nodded. Is that lady why Daddy put up the big fence? The security upgrades had been substantial after Ashley's arrest, not just to keep out opportunistic reporters, but also to address Robert's lingering fears about Lily's safety. Partly, Sarah explained. Sometimes people are very interested in other people's private business, like how Ashley was always taking pictures of us, even when we didn't want to. Lily asked with the disarming directness of a 5-year-old. Robert and Sarah exchanged concerned glances. They had been careful not to demonize Ashley in front of Lily, following Dr. Madison's guidance about age-appropriate truth, without burdening the child with adult complexities. Something like that, Robert said carefully. Ready for the beach, Pumpkin? The diversion worked, and soon they were loading the car with towels, sand toys, and an excessive amount of sunscreen. Eleanor waved them off, promising butterfly updates upon their return. The exclusive section of Palm Beach Shore was relatively empty on this Sunday morning. Most of the wealthy weekend residents were still at brunch or church. Robert spread blankets while Sarah helped Lily apply sunscreen, noting how the child still stiffened slightly when touched unexpectedly, another lingering effect of Ashley's mistreatment. Look, Dad. Lily pointed to a sandpiper scurrying along the waterline. It has skinny legs like Miss Peterson. Robert laughed, and Sarah marveled at how the sound had returned to their home. For weeks after Ashley's arrest, he had moved through life like a ghost, consumed by guilt and self-recrimination. The laughter had returned gradually. First just with Lily, then occasionally with Sarah, and now increasingly as a natural part of their reconfigured family life. While Lily and Robert constructed an elaborate sandcastle, Sarah's phone buzzed with a text from their lawyer. Ashley's appeal denied. Sentence stands. Thought you'd want to know. Relief washed over her. Ashley's legal team had been fighting the charges, arguing that the surveillance videos constituted invasion of privacy and that Ashley's actions had been misinterpreted. The appeal's rejection meant one less thing to worry about, one less threat to their fragile peace. Good news? Robert asked, noticing her expression. The best, she confirmed quietly. I'll tell you later. Lily stood up suddenly. I want to try the water now. Sarah and Robert both moved instantly to accompany her to the shoreline. They each took one of her small hands, forming a human chain as they approached the gentle waves. Lily hesitated as the first rush of foam touched her toes, then giggled as it retreated, leaving tiny bubbles around her feet. It tickles, she exclaimed, squeezing their hands tighter. It does, doesn't it? Sarah agreed, watching Lily's face for any sign of distress. But there was only wonder as another wave came, this one reaching her ankles. It's not scary, Lily declared, sounding almost disappointed at this anticlimactic revelation. Water isn't scary by itself, Robert explained gently. It's only scary when we're not safe around it. Right now you're very safe because we're both holding on to you. Lily considered this, then took a bold step deeper, letting the water reach her calves. I'm being brave, like Dr. Madison said. Sarah felt her throat tighten with emotion. These milestones, seemingly small to outsiders, represented monumental healing. 6 months ago, Lily had screamed through baths, convinced she would be held underwater again as punishment. They spent an hour at the water's edge, Lily growing increasingly confident with each passing wave. When they finally returned to their blanket for snacks, her smile was radiant. Can we come back tomorrow? You have school tomorrow, remember? Sarah reminded her. But we can come back next weekend. Will you both be there? Lily asked, suddenly serious. Of course, Robert assured her. Promise? She pressed, looking from one to the other with an intensity that revealed her lingering insecurity. We promise, they said in unison. On the drive home, Lily fell asleep in her car seat, exhausted from sun and excitement. Sarah glanced back at her and then turned to Robert. The appeal was denied, she said quietly. Ashley's sentence stands. Robert's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Good. Though sometimes I think prison is too good for her, considering what she put Lily through. It's not about punishment anymore, Sarah reminded him. It's about keeping Lily safe and helping her heal. He nodded, stealing a glance at his sleeping daughter in the rearview mirror. I still don't understand how I didn't see it. The signs were all there. Lily's behavior changes, her fear, her regression. How could I have been so blind? Sarah had asked herself the same question many times, wondering how she could have protected Lily sooner, acted more decisively. Ashley was manipulative and calculating. She made sure you only saw what she wanted you to see. But you saw through it, he pointed out. I wasn't in love with her, Sarah said simply. And I knew Lily, really knew her, in a way that... She hesitated, not wanting to wound his already fragile paternal confidence. In a way that I should have, he finished for her. You were more of a parent to her than I was, even before Ashley came into the picture. This was dangerous territory. Their new co-parenting arrangement worked precisely because they avoided discussing the years when Robert had been physically present but emotionally absent, buried in work while Sarah raised his daughter. You're here now, she said instead. That's what matters to Lily. As they pulled into the driveway, Eleanor waved from the garden, her wide-brimmed hat shading her face from the Florida sun. Beside her, a newly planted butterfly bush already attracted a painted lady butterfly, its orange and black wings opening and closing lazily. Perfect timing, Eleanor called. Come see what we've attracted already. Lily stirred in her car seat. Are we home? Home? Such a simple word for such a complex concept. This house, once a showplace for Ashley's social media empire, then the site of hidden abuse, now a refuge rebuilt on trust and healing, had transformed as much as its inhabitants. Yes, sweetheart, Sarah answered, helping her unbuckle. We're home. As Lily raced to see Eleanor's butterfly, Robert caught Sarah's hand. Thank you, he said, his voice thick with emotion, for not giving up on her, for not giving up on us. Sarah squeezed his hand briefly before letting go. Their relationship remained carefully defined by Lily's needs, navigating the complex territory between their past as employer and employee and their present as co-parents. Whatever unspoken feelings might exist remained secondary to the child whose welfare united them. I made a promise, she said simply. No one will ever let her go again. The following Wednesday, Sarah sat in the waiting room outside Dr. Madison's office, scrolling through emails on her phone. Lily's weekly therapy sessions were private, a sacred space where the child could express feelings without worrying about hurting the adults in her life. Sarah and Robert alternated accompanying her, carefully maintaining the schedule despite their busy lives. The door opened, and Lily emerged clutching a drawing, her face brightening when she spotted Sarah. Aunt Sarah, I drew our family. Sarah accepted the crayon masterpiece, 3 stick figures holding hands in front of a house, with a smaller figure beside them that appeared to be either a cat or possibly Eleanor. It's beautiful, Lily. Is this for the refrigerator gallery? Dr. Madison says I should give it to Daddy too, so he can see that I drew all of us together. Dr. Madison appeared in the doorway, her warm smile revealing nothing of what had transpired during the session. Ms. Wilson, could I speak with you for a moment? Lily, would you mind waiting with Ms. Parker at the front desk? I think she has stickers today. Once Lily was out of earshot, the therapist's expression grew serious. I wanted to update you on something that came up today. Lily mentioned that her Uncle Thomas called the house yesterday and spoke with her directly. Sarah tensed. Robert didn't mention this. According to Lily, her father wasn't aware. She answered the phone while he was in the shower, and Thomas told her he had a special surprise planned and asked her not to tell anyone about their secret conversation. Alarm bells rang in Sarah's mind. After everything Lily had endured with Ashley, The idea of another adult encouraging secrecy was deeply troubling. I'm concerned, Dr. Madison continued, not just about the boundary violation of calling without parental permission, but about the secrecy aspect. Lily has made excellent progress understanding that healthy adults don't ask children to keep secrets from their caregivers. Did she tell you what this surprise was supposed to be? Apparently, Thomas mentioned taking her to Disney World next month, just the two of them. He told her it would be their special time to bond as real family. The implication was clear. Thomas was still attempting to undermine Sarah's position in Lily's life. Thank you for telling me, Sarah said, struggling to contain her anger. We'll address this immediately. In the car, Lily chatted happily about the stickers she'd received, seemingly untroubled by the conversation she'd reported to Dr. Madison. Sarah listened attentively while her mind raced, trying to decide how to approach Robert with this information without creating additional tension. When they arrived home, Robert was waiting in the driveway, having left work early to join them for Lily's favorite Wednesday pizza night. Seeing him leaning against his car, sleeves rolled up and tie loosened, Sarah was struck by how different he looked from the corporate automaton she'd worked for years earlier. Fatherhood, real engaged fatherhood, had softened him. "There's my favorite artist," he called as Lily bounded from the car and into his arms. "How was your session with Dr. Madison?" "First, good. I drew our family. And I got dinosaur stickers." "Turkey, bitte. Why don't you go show Eleanor your stickers?" Sarah suggested. "I think she's in the kitchen starting dinner." Once Lily was inside, Sarah turned to Robert. "We need to talk about your brother." Robert's expression immediately darkened. "What's Thomas done now?" Sarah explained what Dr. Madison had shared, watching as Robert's face transitioned from confusion to disbelief to anger. "I never heard the phone ring," he said. "I was in the shower after my morning run, but that's not the point, Robert. The point is that he's deliberately circumventing us to get to Lily. He's teaching her to keep secrets from us, which is exactly what Ashley did before the abuse escalated." Robert ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "I'll call him right now and make it clear." "No," Sarah interrupted. "We need to be more strategic than that. This isn't just about Thomas overstepping. It's about Lily's safety and the boundaries we've established in therapy. We should consult with Dr. Madison about the best approach." Robert's phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at it and his expression hardened. "Speak of the devil. It's Thomas." "Don't answer," Sarah urged. "Not until we have a plan." But Robert was already accepting the call, putting it on speaker. "Thomas, this isn't a good time." "Hey, little brother." Thomas's voice was jovial, with the practiced smoothness that had served him well as an attorney to Palm Beach's elite. "Just checking to see if my favorite niece got excited about our Disney surprise. I've already booked the VIP package. Front-of-line access to everything, character breakfast, the works." Robert's jaw tightened. "Thomas, Sarah and I just learned that you called Lily directly yesterday and asked her to keep secrets from us." A pause. "I wouldn't call it a secret exactly. More of a surprise. You told a 5-year-old who is currently in therapy for trauma related to an adult who asked her to keep secrets that she should keep your conversation secret." Sarah interjected, unable to contain herself. "You know what she's been through." Thomas's tone cooled. "With all due respect, Sarah, this is a family matter between me and my brother regarding my niece. I appreciate your concern as Lily's nanny." "Co-guardian," Robert corrected firmly. "Sarah is Lily's legal co-guardian, as you well know from your attempts to challenge the arrangement in court." Another pause. "Look, I'm trying to rebuild our family relationships here. The past is the past. I made some misjudgments during a difficult time, but I'm Lily's blood relative. Surely you can't object to me wanting to create some special memories with her." "What I object to," Robert replied, "is you undermining the careful structure we've built to help Lily recover. Any communication with her goes through Sarah or me first. Any plans involve both of us in the decision-making process. That's non-negotiable. This is because of her, isn't it?" Thomas's voice hardened. "She's turned you against your own family. First that restraining order against Mum when she just wanted to visit her granddaughter. Your mother showed up unannounced and intoxicated," Sarah reminded him, "and tried to take Lily for ice cream without permission. And now I can't even plan a simple trip with my niece without getting the 3rd degree. This isn't right, Rob. She's not even related to Lily." Robert's face flushed with anger. That's enough, Thomas. Sarah has been more family to Lily than you or Mom ever were. Where were you during the first 4 years of her life? One birthday visit and Christmas cards don't make you Uncle of the Year. I was building my career same as you were. Thomas snapped. The difference is I'm trying to make up for lost time now, and you're letting your whatever she is stand in the way. My whatever she is? Robert's voice rose dangerously. Sarah is the woman who saved my daughter's life when I was too blind to see she was in danger. She's the woman who's been there for every nightmare, every triumph, every skinned knee since the day Lily was born. She's earned her place in our family through love and sacrifice, not biology. Inside the house, a small face appeared at the window, watching the heated exchange with wide, worried eyes. Robert, Sarah said quietly, gesturing toward the window. He followed her gaze and immediately modulated his tone. We'll discuss this later, Thomas. In the meantime, do not contact Lily directly again. He ended the call and took a deep breath. We should go inside. Pizza night awaits. But Sarah placed a hand on his arm. She heard you defending me. Of course I defended you. Everything I said was true. I know, but Sarah hesitated. We've been so careful about keeping our conflicts away from Lily, about presenting a united front. Robert glanced again at the window where Lily had been watching, though she'd disappeared now. This wasn't our conflict. This was us being a united front against someone trying to divide us. Inside, they found Lily helping Eleanor arrange sliced vegetables on a tray, her earlier concern apparently forgotten in the excitement of dinner preparations. The elderly woman gave Sarah a knowing look over Lily's head. I hear someone had a secret phone call yesterday, Eleanor said casually, as she handed Lily a bell pepper to slice. Lily froze, her eyes darting between the adults. I wasn't supposed to tell. Sarah knelt to Lily's level. Sweetheart, remember what we've talked about. In our family, we don't keep secrets from each other. Surprises for birthdays and holidays are different. Those are happy secrets that get revealed. But when someone asks you not to tell Sarah or Daddy about a conversation, that's not okay. Even if it's Uncle Thomas, Lily asked in a small voice. Even if it's Uncle Thomas, Robert confirmed, joining them at the kitchen counter. Especially adult family members. They should know the rules. Lily considered this, her small brow furrowed in concentration. But Uncle Thomas said you'd say no to Disney World because you don't want me to have fun with him. Sarah and Robert exchanged glances, recognizing Thomas's manipulation for what it was. That's not true at all, Robert said gently. We want you to have fun and enjoy time with family members who love you. But we need to make those plans together as a family. Could we all go to Disney World? Lily asked hopefully. You and Aunt Sarah and Uncle Thomas and Grandma Ellie? Eleanor chuckled. These old bones might not keep up with Space Mountain, but I'd be happy to hold the bags. That's something we can talk about, Sarah said diplomatically, not wanting to make promises they couldn't keep, given the current tension with Thomas. The doorbell interrupted their conversation. Pizza's here, Robert announced, grateful for the distraction. As they gathered around the kitchen island with their pizza, Lily between Sarah and Robert and Eleanor across from them, Sarah was struck by how naturally they had fallen into these family routines. For years she had maintained professional boundaries as Lily's nanny, eating separately from Robert, never presuming to join family meals unless specifically invited. Now their lives were completely intertwined, their roles redefined. I spoke with the school counselor today, Robert mentioned as he served Lily another slice. They're implementing that new emotional awareness program we discussed. Lily's class will be starting next week. Sarah nodded approvingly. That's excellent timing with the new school year starting. Dr. Madison mentioned it might help Lily process her feelings in a peer setting. Will I get to talk about my two mums? Lily asked innocently, tomato sauce dotting her chin. The question hung in the air. This was how Lily had recently begun referring to her situation, her birth mother, Catherine, whom she knew only from photographs and stories, and Sarah, whom she increasingly viewed in a maternal role despite still calling her Aunt Sarah. You can talk about whatever family structure makes you comfortable, Sarah said carefully, wiping Lily's chin with a napkin. Your family is unique and special, just like you are. Paige at school says it's weird that my dad and mom don't kiss like her parents. Lily continued, oblivious to the adult's discomfort. Robert nearly choked on his pizza. Well, every family is different, he managed after taking a sip of water. Eleanor, ever the practical voice, interjected, Some parents live in different houses and don't kiss at all. Some children have grandparents raising them. Some have 2 mummies or 2 daddies. Families come in all shapes and sizes. Lily seemed satisfied with this explanation and moved on to describing the art project she'd completed at school that day. But Sarah caught Robert's lingering gaze. They had carefully maintained appropriate boundaries in their co-parenting relationship, never discussing the subtle shift in dynamics between them over recent months. After dinner, while Eleanor helped Lily with her bath, a ritual that had once been traumatic but was now manageable with the right support, Sarah and Robert retreated to the Home Office to discuss Thomas's unwelcome intervention. I'll call Dr. Madison tomorrow, Robert said, pacing the room. I want her professional opinion on how to handle this without causing Lily more stress. I think we need to be very clear with Thomas, Sarah replied, leaning against the desk. No ambiguity, no room for misinterpretation, and possibly a conversation with your mother as well, setting the same boundaries. Robert stopped pacing. My mother hasn't tried to contact us since the restraining order expired. True, but if Thomas is making these overtures, it might only be a matter of time before she does too. They've always been a united front, he sighed heavily. When did my family become the enemy? Sarah softened. They're not the enemy, Robert, but they haven't demonstrated that they can respect the boundaries Lily needs right now. Maybe someday, with time and consistent behavior, that can change. I just want her to have a normal childhood, he admitted, with grandparents and uncles and cousins, a sense of history and belonging. She has that, Sarah reminded him. It just looks different than you imagined. She has Eleanor, who loves her unconditionally. She has the security of 2 dedicated parents. She has a home where she feels safe. Robert looked at her thoughtfully. You know, when I hired you 5 years ago, I never imagined we'd end up here. Co-parenting, legal guardianship, building this unconventional family. Life rarely follows the path we expect, Sarah said softly. A comfortable silence fell between them, filled with unspoken thoughts. Finally, Robert cleared his throat. There's something I've been wanting to discuss with you. About the future. Sarah's heart quickened unexpectedly. Oh, the custody arrangement we have now is working well, but it's still temporary in some ways. You're living in the guest suite. We're managing day to day, but we haven't really talked about the long term. I thought we agreed to take things one step at a time, Sarah said cautiously. Focus on Lily's recovery first. We did, and that was the right approach. But Lily's making real progress now, and I think it's time we... A scream from upstairs cut through their conversation. They both bolted for the stairs, taking them 2 at a time, hearts pounding with fear. They found Eleanor outside the bathroom door, her face pale. She was fine 1 minute. Then the next, the older woman gestured helplessly. Inside, Lily sat huddled in the empty bathtub, knees drawn to her chest, sobbing uncontrollably. Sarah approached slowly, careful not to startle her. Lily, sweetheart, what happened? Between sobs, Lily managed to choke out, she was here. I saw her. Who was here, baby? Robert asked gently from the doorway. Ashley. The name emerged as a terrified whisper. She was outside the window. She said she's coming to get me. Sarah and Robert exchanged alarmed glances. The bathroom window overlooked the enclosed backyard. 2 stories up. I'll check outside, Robert said immediately, hurrying downstairs. Lily, Ashley isn't here, Sarah assured her, carefully sitting on the edge of the tub. She can't hurt you anymore. Remember what Dr. Madison said? She's in a place where she can't come near you ever again. But I saw her, Lily insisted, her small body trembling. She was wearing the blue dress like at the party and her special necklace. She looked right at me. The details sent a chill down Sarah's spine. Ashley had indeed worn a distinctive blue dress at the anniversary party, where Lily had been left in the car, along with an expensive sapphire necklace Robert had given her as a gift. Eleanor appeared with Lily's bathrobe. Let's get you warm and dry, sunshine. How about some hot chocolate, while we wait for your daddy to come back? Sarah wrapped Lily in the robe and carried her downstairs, the child clinging to her neck like a much younger toddler. In the kitchen, Eleanor busied herself preparing hot chocolate while Sarah held Lily on her lap, murmuring reassurances. Robert returned, his expression grim. The security system didn't register any breaches, and there's no sign of anyone in the yard. I've called the police just to be safe. Within minutes, patrol cars arrived. Officers searched the property thoroughly, while a female officer gently questioned Lily about what she'd seen. Sarah remained by her side, noting how Lily's description remained consistent. The blue dress, the necklace, the specific words allegedly spoken. "We'll increase patrols in your neighborhood tonight," the officer assured them. "But there's no evidence anyone was on your property." The security cameras didn't pick up any movement in that area of the yard. After the police left, they established an impromptu sleepover in the living room. Eleanor called her neighbor to feed her cat and stayed over, taking the couch while Robert and Sarah set up air mattresses on either side of Lily's makeshift bed on the floor. No one suggested Lily sleep alone. "The mind can play tricks when we've experienced trauma," Eleanor said quietly, as Lily finally drifted off to sleep between them. "My Harold was gone 3 years before I stopped thinking I heard his key in the door every evening." "But the specific details," Sarah whispered. "The blue dress, the necklace." "Images that made a strong impression during a traumatic event," Robert suggested, though he didn't sound entirely convinced. "Dr. Madison warned us flashbacks might happen." Sarah stroked Lily's hair gently. "Whatever it was, we'll get through it together." As the house grew quiet, Sarah found herself unable to sleep, her mind replaying Lily's description and her own memories of Ashley. Something nagged at her, a detail just beyond her grasp. She carefully extracted herself from Lily's grip and padded to the kitchen for water. Standing at the sink, gazing out at the moonlit garden, a realization struck her. Ashley's sapphire necklace, the one she'd worn at the anniversary party, had been a specific point of contention during the divorce proceedings. Robert had demanded its return, claiming it was a family heirloom, but Ashley had insisted it was a gift and therefore hers to keep. The court had ultimately ruled in Ashley's favor regarding the necklace, and Robert had been furious, not because of its monetary value, but because it had belonged to his grandmother. If Ashley had been wearing it tonight, as Lily claimed, Sarah's thoughts were interrupted by Robert's quiet approach. "Can't sleep either." She turned, leaning against the counter. "I was thinking about the necklace Lily mentioned. Your grandmother's sapphires." Recognition flickered in his eyes. The one Ashley refused to return. Exactly. If Lily really saw Ashley wearing it? Robert poured himself water, his movements deliberate. "Ashley is serving her sentence. She can't be here. The security system is state-of-the-art." "I know that logically," Sarah admitted. "But Lily's description was so specific. Children's imaginations." "It's more than that," Sarah insisted. "Lily's not prone to making things up, especially not about Ashley. She's been reluctant to even mention her name these past months." Robert set down his glass with a sigh. "What are you suggesting? That Ashley has somehow escaped prison, bypassed our security system, and is lurking in our yard wearing the same outfit from a year ago, just to torment a 5-year-old? When he put it that way, it did sound far-fetched. "No, but maybe—" Sarah hesitated, trying to organize her thoughts. What if someone is deliberately trying to frighten Lily? Someone who would have access to similar clothes, know about the necklace, understand what would trigger her. Robert stared at her. Who would do something that cruel? Before Sarah could respond, a thought occurred to her. When did Thomas call Lily? Yesterday, right? And suddenly tonight, she has her first hallucination or sighting of Ashley. "You think my brother would dress up as my ex-wife to traumatize his niece?" Robert's voice rose in disbelief. "That's absurd, Sarah. He may be manipulative, but he's not a monster." "Keep your voice down," Sarah cautioned, glancing toward the living room where Lily slept. "I'm not saying he did it himself. But what if he hired someone? What if this is part of a strategy to undermine Lily's sense of security with us, to make us seem like we can't protect her?" Robert ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "That's a serious accusation." "I know," Sarah acknowledged, "and I hope I'm wrong. But we need to consider all possibilities when it comes to Lily's safety and well-being." They were interrupted by Eleanor's appearance in the doorway. "Everything all right?" "I heard voices." Sarah quickly filled her in on their discussion. Eleanor listened thoughtfully, then said, "It wouldn't be the first time Thomas Bennett used underhanded tactics to get what he wants. Remember the false accusations he tried to leverage during the custody hearing?" Robert looked troubled. Even so, this would be extreme even for him. People go to extraordinary lengths for power and control, Eleanor reminded him. I've lived long enough to see it happen in the best of families. Sarah's phone buzzed on the counter, an unusual occurrence so late at night. The screen displayed a notification from one of the security apps she'd installed after Ashley's arrest. Movement detected, east. Garden. She showed it to Robert, who immediately strode to the security panel near the back door. He pulled up the camera feed on the touchscreen, cycling through views of their property. The east garden, directly below the bathroom window, showed nothing out of the ordinary in the infrared night vision display. False alarm, he concluded. Let me see, Sarah requested, something in her gut not satisfied. She studied the footage carefully, rewinding and playing it again. There by the camellia bush, something moved. Robert peered at the screen. Probably just wind. The wind doesn't trip motion sensors calibrated for human-sized movement, Sarah pointed out. And look at the timestamp, 9:42 p.m. That's exactly when Lily started screaming. Eleanor joined them at the panel. Is there a way to see if anything was recorded earlier today? Maybe someone was scoping out the property. Robert navigated through the system's interface, pulling up archived footage. They spent 20 minutes reviewing videos from different angles of the property throughout the day, finding nothing suspicious until Sarah noticed something. Wait, go back to the front gate footage from around 3 p.m. Robert rewound the video. A delivery van had stopped briefly at their gate, though no packages had been delivered. Can you zoom in on the logo? Sarah asked. The image enlarged, revealing a generic floral delivery service emblem that didn't look quite professional, more like a magnetic sign attached to an otherwise unmarked white van. I don't recognize that company. Robert frowned. And we didn't receive any flower deliveries today. The gate log, Sarah suggested. Does it show they requested entry? Robert checked the digital log. No access attempts recorded at that time. A chill ran down Sarah's spine. Someone had been watching their house, perhaps assessing their security measures. Combined with Lily's sighting and Thomas's sudden interest in taking Lily away for a trip, it painted a disturbing picture. I think we should call the police again, she said quietly. This doesn't feel right. Robert nodded, his earlier skepticism fading in the face of mounting evidence. I'll make the call. While Robert spoke with the police, Sarah returned to the living room to check on Lily, who remained peacefully asleep, one arm flung over her favorite stuffed rabbit. Watching her small chest rise and fall with each breath, Sarah felt a fierce surge of protectiveness. After everything this child had endured, she deserved to feel completely safe in her own home. The police arrived discreetly, no sirens to disturb the neighborhood. The same officers who had responded earlier returned, taking the new information seriously. They reviewed the security footage and conducted another sweep of the property, this time with greater attention to the East Garden area. Ma'am, one officer called softly from the back door. Could you come take a look at this? Sarah followed him into the garden, where his flashlight illuminated a small area of disturbed soil beneath the bathroom window. Someone stood here recently, he explained, pointing to footprints partially visible in the soft ground. And see this? He indicated a scuff mark on the stucco wall about 7 feet up. Could be from a ladder or something similar. Sarah's blood ran cold. So someone really was here. Lily really saw someone. The officer nodded grimly. I can't confirm it was this Ashley person, but someone was definitely looking into your bathroom window tonight. Inside, the officers took detailed statements while arranging for increased patrols around the property. One suggested they consider staying elsewhere for a few days, but Sarah immediately rejected the idea. We won't be driven from our home, she said firmly. Lily needs stability and routine, not another disruption. Robert supported her decision. We'll enhance security instead. I'll call the company first thing in the morning. After the police left, with promises to investigate the suspicious van, the house fell quiet again. Eleanor had finally dozed off on the couch, and Lily remained blissfully unaware of the night's developments. Sarah and Robert sat at the kitchen table, cups of tea growing cold between them. I owe you an apology, Robert said softly. I dismissed your concerns too quickly. Sarah shook her head. You were being rational. The idea that someone would go to these lengths does sound far-fetched. But you were right to trust your instincts. And Lily's. He reached across the table, briefly touching her hand. You've always seen things clearly when it comes to her safety. I should have learned that lesson by now. The gesture was small but significant, one of the rare moments when the carefully maintained boundaries between them briefly lowered. Sarah felt the warmth of his fingers lingering on her skin after he withdrew. "What were you going to say earlier?" she asked suddenly, before we were interrupted. "About the future." Robert seemed surprised by the question. "It can wait. We have more pressing concerns right now." But Sarah persisted. "I'd like to know, especially now." He hesitated, then met her gaze directly. "I was going to suggest making our arrangement more permanent, legally and otherwise." "Otherwise?" Sarah repeated, her heart suddenly racing. "Sarah, these past months have shown me what a real family should be, not just coexisting under the same roof or sharing DNA, but supporting each other, protecting each other, building something meaningful together." He took a deep breath. "I've been thinking about what Lily said earlier, about her two moms, and about us." "Robert, let me finish, please. I know our relationship began as employer and employee. I know there are complications in history and 1,000 reasons to keep things exactly as they are now. But I also know that when I see you with Lily, when I see how we've created this home together," he faltered, searching for words. "When I see that, I realize I want more," he finally continued. "Not just for Lily's sake, but for ours. I want to explore what we could be to each other, beyond co-parents." The confession hung in the air between them, momentous and fragile. Sarah felt a confusing swirl of emotions, surprise, warmth, uncertainty, and beneath it all a quiet recognition. Hadn't she felt the shift between them too, carefully ignored in the name of Lily's stability? Before she could respond, a small voice came from the doorway. "Aunt Sarah, Daddy, why are you still awake?" Lily stood in her rumpled pajamas, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Robert recovered first, his voice gentle as he answered, "We're just talking about some grown-up things, sweetheart. Did you have another bad dream?" Lily shook her head. "I woke up and you were both gone." The vulnerability in her voice spoke volumes about her lingering fears of abandonment. Sarah opened her arms, and Lily quickly climbed onto her lap. "We're right here, just like we promised. We were just getting some water and thinking about ways to make sure you feel extra safe," Robert added, smoothing Lily's tousled hair. "Did you catch the bad lady?" Lily asked, her eyes wide with innocent hope. Sarah and Robert exchanged glances, silently debating how much to share. They had agreed early in their co-parenting relationship to be truthful with Lily, while remaining age-appropriate. "The police came back to help us look," Sarah explained carefully. "They found some evidence that someone might have been in our garden, but that person is gone now." "Was it her?" Lily whispered. "We don't know for sure," Robert answered honestly, "but we're going to find out. And in the meantime, we're going to make sure no one can look through your window again, okay?" Lily nodded, but her small body remained tense. "Can I sleep in your room tonight?" Again, a glance passed between the adults, this time weighted with the conversation they'd just been having. Robert's proposal hung unaddressed in the air. "Of course you can," Sarah answered. "Let's go check on Eleanor first, and then we'll all get some rest." The next morning brought a flurry of activity. Security technicians arrived to install additional cameras and sensors. Police officers returned with questions about the mysterious delivery van and Thomas's recent contact with Lily. Eleanor reluctantly returned home to feed her cat and change clothes, promising to return for dinner. Throughout it all, Lily remained unusually quiet, watching the proceedings with solemn eyes. When the doorbell rang around noon, she flinched visibly, pressing herself against Sarah's side. "It's okay," Sarah reassured her. "That's just Dr. Madison. We called her this morning, remember?" Robert had reached out to the therapist immediately, requesting an emergency session given the night's events. Dr. Madison had rearranged her schedule to accommodate them, understanding the potential setback to Lily's progress. The therapist spent an hour with Lily alone, then invited Sarah and Robert to join them in the living room. Lily sat cross-legged on the floor, working on a drawing while the adults spoke in measured tones. "Lily has given me a very detailed description of what she saw last night," Dr. Madison explained. "In my professional opinion, this was not a hallucination or nightmare. She's describing actual visual input. Someone deliberately dressed to resemble Ashley. But why?" Robert asked, keeping his voice low. What would be the purpose of terrorizing a child this way? Dr. Madison's expression was grave. In cases of custody disputes or family conflicts, I've occasionally seen what we call induced psychological distress, deliberate attempts to make a child appear unstable or the current. Guardians seem incapable of providing security. Thomas, Sarah said quietly, the pieces falling into place. He wants custody, and if he can demonstrate that Lily is regressing under our care. I'm not making any accusations, Dr. Madison cautioned. But I'm concerned about the timing between his unsupervised phone call and this incident. Robert's phone buzzed with a text. He glanced at it, his expression darkening. Speak of the devil. Thomas is insisting on coming over this afternoon to check on his niece after hearing about the police visits from a neighbor. That's awfully convenient, Sarah observed. How did he even know about the police? Dr. Madison interjected, It might be helpful to allow this visit, with proper precautions. Sometimes the best way to understand someone's intentions is to observe their behavior directly. You're suggesting we use this as an opportunity to assess whether Thomas is behind this? Robert asked skeptically. I'm suggesting that keeping potential threats at arm's length sometimes prevents us from gathering important information, the therapist replied diplomatically. Of course, Lily's comfort is paramount. She shouldn't be alone with him at any point. They agreed on a strategy. Thomas would be permitted a brief visit, during which both Sarah and Robert would remain present at all times. Dr. Madison would coincidentally still be there, providing an additional professional perspective on the interaction. When Thomas arrived at precisely 3 o'clock, his appearance was impeccable as always. Tailored suit, perfectly knotted tie, leather briefcase in hand. The family resemblance between the Bennett brothers was striking, though Thomas was leaner, more polished, his every movement calculated for effect. Rob, Sarah, he greeted them with practiced warmth. And this must be Dr. Madison, Thomas Bennett, Lily's uncle. The therapist shook his hand with a pleasant smile that revealed nothing of their earlier conversation. Nice to meet you, Mr. Bennett. I was just finishing up a session with Lily. Thomas's gaze swept the living room, noting the security technicians still working in the garden. Quite the commotion here. The neighbor mentioned police cars in the middle of the night. Is everything all right? We had an intruder, Robert stated bluntly, watching his brother's reaction carefully. Someone was looking through Lily's bathroom window last night. If Thomas was surprised or disturbed by this information, he concealed it masterfully. How terrifying. Poor Lily must have been frightened out of her wits. Where is my favorite niece, anyway? Drawing in the sunroom, Sarah answered. She's had a difficult night, so we're keeping things calm and structured today. Thomas followed them through to the sunroom, where Lily sat at her small table, concentrating on a colorful drawing. She looked up as they entered, her expression changing subtly at the sight of her uncle. Not fear, exactly, but a wariness that hadn't been there with Dr. Madison. Uncle Thomas, she acknowledged softly. There's my princess, Thomas exclaimed, his voice too loud for the peaceful space. He set his briefcase down and squatted to her level. I brought you something special. Sarah tensed as he reached into his jacket pocket, but he merely produced a small, wrapped package. Go ahead, open it. Lily looked to Sarah and Robert first, seeking permission, a behavior pattern they'd established during her therapy. At their nod, she carefully unwrapped the gift, a delicate silver bracelet with a princess crown charm. It's beautiful, she said politely, though without the enthusiasm Thomas clearly expected. I thought you could wear it when we go to Disney next month. He prompted, glancing triumphantly at Sarah and Robert. You'll be the prettiest princess in the whole park. Dr. Madison observed the interaction with clinical interest, particularly Lily's body language as she replied, Daddy and Aunt Sarah said we need to make family plans together. Thomas's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. Of course. But sometimes uncles get to plan special surprises. Like our phone call yesterday, that was fun, wasn't it? Our little secret? The deliberate repetition of the secrecy narrative, after being explicitly warned against it, confirmed Sarah's suspicions. This wasn't thoughtlessness. It was strategy. In this family, she said firmly, we don't encourage Lily to keep secrets from her parents. As we discussed yesterday, Thomas straightened, his charm hardening into something colder. Parents, that's a rather presumptuous term, isn't it, Sarah? Legally speaking, you're a guardian at best. Thomas, Robert warned, stepping closer to Sarah in silent solidarity. No, let's be clear about roles here. Thomas continued, his facade slipping further. Biology matters. Family matters. Courts recognize blood relationships as paramount, which is precisely what I've been trying to explain to my attorneys. Your attorneys? Robert repeated. Are you planning another custody challenge? Thomas waved dismissively, merely exploring options in Lily's best interest, which frankly has become more urgent given the security breach last night. If someone can access your property so easily, perhaps your elaborate security measures aren't as effective as you claim. The implication hung in the air. Either they were lying about the intruder, or they were incapable of protecting Lily. Either way, Thomas was building a case. Dr. Madison chose this moment to interject. Mr. Bennett, as Lily's therapist, I'm concerned about your repeated references to secrets and your undermining of her established family structure. These behaviors can be extremely detrimental to a child recovering from trauma. Thomas turned to her with barely concealed disdain. With all due respect, Doctor, I'm speaking about legal realities, not emotional ones. The courts will ultimately determine what's best for Lily. Like they did when you tried to claim I was an unfit guardian because of my socio-economic status? Sarah challenged, her patience wearing thin. Or when you suggested Robert's work schedule made him incapable of parenting. Those arguments didn't persuade the judge then, and they won't now. Lily had grown increasingly uncomfortable during this exchange, hunching over her drawing and covering her ears, a self-soothing technique Dr. Madison had taught her when adult conversations became overwhelming. Robert noticed immediately. Thomas, I think it's time for you to leave. This visit is clearly distressing Lily. Because you've poisoned her against me, Thomas accused, but he picked up his briefcase nonetheless. This isn't over, Rob. I've been patient, I've played nice, but this arrangement isn't sustainable. Sarah is not family, no matter how much you pretend otherwise. As Robert escorted his brother to the door, Dr. Madison moved to sit beside Lily, gently engaging her in conversation. Sarah followed the brothers, unwilling to let Thomas have the last word with Robert. At the front door, Thomas turned for a parting shot. You know Mother agrees with me. She's preparing to petition for grandparent visitation rights, with or without your cooperation. More legal threats? Robert asked wearily. Is that really how you want to define our family relationship? Thomas adjusted his tie, composure restored. Family is precisely what I'm fighting for. Real family, not this experiment you're conducting. After he left, Sarah and Robert stood in the foyer processing the confrontation. He didn't seem surprised about the intruder, Sarah observed. Not even a question about whether Lily was harmed or what the police found. I noticed that too, Robert agreed grimly. And the timing of his visit, his gift, his emphasis on Disney and secrets even after being told to stop. It's all too calculated. They returned to the sunroom where Dr. Madison was helping Lily place her new bracelet in a jewelry box rather than wearing it. I think she associates it with pressure to keep secrets, the therapist explained quietly. A healthy boundary she's setting herself. After Dr. Madison departed with promises to return tomorrow, the three of them settled on the patio for an early dinner. Eleanor joined them, bringing her famous chicken soup and fresh-baked rolls. The elderly woman had become an essential part of their support system, her practical wisdom and unconditional love providing a stability Lily desperately needed. As darkness fell, the enhanced security system bathed the garden in subtle lighting, motion sensors and cameras creating an invisible protective barrier around their home. Lily, exhausted from the emotional day, fell asleep during her bedtime story, securely nestled between Sarah and Robert on her bed. They carefully extracted themselves, leaving her nightlight glowing and the new monitor system active. In the hallway, Robert gently caught Sarah's hand. We never finished our conversation from last night, he said softly. Sarah looked into his eyes, finding the same question there, the same hopeful uncertainty. I know, it's been quite a day. But tomorrow will bring new challenges and the day after that. There will always be something. Thomas, security concerns, school issues, therapy breakthroughs. Life doesn't pause for perfect timing. He was right, of course. The past year had taught them that waiting for ideal circumstances was a luxury they couldn't afford. "What exactly are you proposing, Robert?" "A real partnership," he answered without hesitation. "Not just as Lily's guardians, but as—" he searched for the right words. "As us, Sarah and Robert. A couple, a team, a family in every sense." "People will talk," she warned, though her heart raced at his words. "They'll say I planned this all along, that I manipulated my way from employee to wife." "Let them talk," Robert said firmly. "We know the truth. We've earned this, not just the right to be together, but the right to be happy after everything we've been through." Sarah thought of their journey, from employer and nanny to reluctant allies against Ashley, to co-parents navigating Lily's recovery, and now potentially to something more intimate and lasting. Each transition had seemed impossible until it happened, each new role unimaginable until they grew into it together. "Lily asked me something yesterday," she admitted. "During her bath, before she got scared, she asked if you and I would ever get married like in her storybooks. If we'd be a real family forever." Robert's expression softened. "What did you tell her?" "That families come in many forms and that we already are a real family no matter what." Sarah took a deep breath. "But I think she was really asking for certainty, for reassurance that what we've built won't disappear." "And what would you tell her now?" Robert asked, his voice barely above a whisper. In the dim hallway, with Lily sleeping peacefully nearby and the challenges of Thomas and security threats temporarily at bay, Sarah found her answer. "I'd tell her that real love doesn't need perfect circumstances or traditional paths. It grows in the spaces between crisis and calm, in shared purpose and mutual respect. I'd tell her that her father and I have found something precious in the midst of chaos, and we're brave enough to embrace it." Robert's smile illuminated his face. "Is that a yes?" "It's a beginning," Sarah replied, allowing herself to step into his embrace for the first time, not as his employee, not as Lily's guardian, but as his equal and partner. The beginning of our next chapter, whatever it may bring. As their lips met in a tender, long-awaited kiss, the security panel on the wall glowed green, its small light a reassuring reminder that they had created something worth protecting. A home, a family, a future built not on obligation or convention, but on the most solid foundation of all, love freely chosen day after day, through challenge and triumph alike. In the morning, they would face Thomas's threats, enhance security further, and continue supporting Lily's healing journey. But for now, in this quiet moment of connection, they allowed themselves to acknowledge the truth they had both been circling for months. Family isn't defined by blood or by law, but by the courage to stand together when it matters most. And no one, not Thomas, not Ashley, not the courts or public opinion, could diminish the family they had fought so hard to build.